All right, so right now I am at Starbucks and I just came across, I don't know if revelation is the right word, but it's about, it has to do with perception and player recall. So it is specifically how players can improve outside of training and games they can do to help them that can be applied to a real soccer game. So one of these games is a recall game, and that's just information that you receive quickly. You get like you get like a second maybe to see uh, what what kind of colors have come up, and then you have to recall those colors in the correct order. And within this game, it'll keep increasing as your level goes higher and higher, and your recall level has to be better. So it's the ability to recall information, your ability to retain information. So basically in a soccer game, you're always getting information super quickly. You're under pressure. You can't stare at a specific place too long because you always got to keep track of the movement of the ball. So for example, elements of the game are space, teammates, defenders, the goal, things like this. And then you have to be able to recall that information when you're not looking at the ball, but you can't look at that place forever, because if you stare at that place for a minute trying to remember what's happened, you don't know where the ball is the next time you try and look for it. So basically you get a short amount of time, and the better you can do this, the quicker you can look at information and retain it. So you don't need as long to look at an area and retain information. Not only do you need less time, you're able to retain more information. So this is just one aspect of perception within the game of soccer. And it is just a revelation, because there was a player that I used to have a year or 2 years ago, and he was a 6 or 7 at the time. Of all the players that I ever coached, no matter what age, he was able to process information better than any player I've coached. His improvement in a short amount of time was insane, and he became a heck of a player, the best player that I've ever coached. And unfortunately, they left for some other reasons, but that's besides the point. How much of it was innate versus him doing this activity, I don't know. But I do know that he did this game all the time. I went to his house for a birthday party one time. He did this all the time. I went one other time, and he just did this regularly, religiously. And I want to be able to do this for my players and grade them. So I'm thinking I grade them every 30 days, see how they do. And then a year ago, or maybe 6 months ago, I went to a summer conference where coaches all over the world came to, and I went to this seminar 2 times, both in the summer. And I know this French coach who was partly responsible for coaching Pogba and some other French players on cognitive ability, and they used to play these games all the time outside of training. They didn't tell us what those games were, and I didn't know what games to do that would apply in a soccer match. And in terms of perception and creating quick decision makers, it's never one thing. So with perception, there's a number of different things with perception to train for. For example, how to spot minimal differences between 2 different objects is a game that can be trained. Then there's the ability to constantly look around your environment. That's another thing. And then there's the ability to spot slight differences to help increase your decision making with the little time you have under pressure. And this kind of helps with that. But I am meeting up with another coach of mine to see how I can best implement this. But this is just another revelation, and from the time that it actually started, it was probably a year and a half ago. And I'm doing this coaching course, and it's kind of bringing everything back together. So I just thought that was funny, how sometimes you can see something and you have no idea how important it is, and then much later you get everything together, and then so many things make sense. But I would advise coaches to try and find ways that can help their players become better decision makers outside of training. So my thoughts on this now is to have each player do this 3 times a week for about 15 minutes each day, and then grade them every 30 or 45 days or every 2 months.